Hello and welcome to the WeekendGolfGuy.com. I'm your host Travis Patton, and today we're talking the first PGA event of the 2020 season. That's right, the Greenbrier Classic. And we're talking fantasy golf predictions here. And by that I mean DraftKings. Not necessarily betting odds and all that good stuff. We're not going to cover that here. But what we are talking about is DraftKings picks. Who should you have in your lineups and who should you avoid based off of my analysis? We're going to talk all about it. Where are we playing? The Greenbrier. It's the Old White TPC course. It's in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. The weather forecast, I gotta be honest, doesn't look that good. Maybe even like a Monday finish, which I personally really dislike. I'd love to have a beer on my couch, hang out, and just watch Sunday golf, right? That's what I really look forward to. But the weather's not looking really great. That being said, we all know how accurate the weather typically is this far in advance. So we may have bright sunny days. This course typically plays easy to average in comparison to other courses. It's a par 70 course. It has 4 par 3s, 3 of which are over 200 yards, 12 par 4s, and only 2 par 5s. Here's what I think is going to separate those players who finish in the top 10 versus those who don't. I think it's going to be par 5 scoring average. I think that on the 2 par 5s, one being 560 yards and the other one being over 600 yards, if you can make eagle there in birdies every single day, you will separate yourself from the field. The birdie average in the last year, 2018, or excuse me, well, now 2019, it's all staggered and wonky, right? The PGA has weird dates. I don't know if they have a calendar. PGA, do you have a calendar? We'll get you one if you don't. Listen, but the scoring average there on those par 5s, 40% were making birdies. That's pretty staggering. So I think birdies are going to be expected, and if you can throw in an eagle 1 or 2 of the days, and you're going to end up in that last group. A couple other things. I think the par 3 is not necessarily birdies. However, around the greens, are you able to scramble? That's going to set people apart from their competition when it comes to those par 3s. Now, a lot of people may model different, how do people play on long par 3s? To me, it's kind of hit or miss. I don't necessarily care. If you are the best long par 3 player on the PGA Tour and you're in this event, I don't think it's going to help you. I think it's going to be around the greens. Do you have the touch? Can you roll in those 10 to 12 footers when you have a little bit of pressure? When it comes down to Saturday and Sunday, I think that's going to separate you. The par 4s, lots of people I think are going to model par 4 scoring into their predictions. I personally didn't weigh it super heavily. Here's the things that I considered. Strokes gained off the tee. I think it's a key factor this week, especially with the rain. It could make that rough, which is typically about average in comparison to other courses, play a little harder. So strokes gained off the tee is one of the things that I put into my model. I also put strokes gained on the approach. I think that striking the ball, particularly in the 170-yard range, is going to be a key factor in the top 10 players, which is really what you want to get out of your DraftKings, right? So next week, we're going to review and see how my predictions went. Of course, I'll adjust my models for next year if I need to, based off of what we learn here. So, strokes gained approach, strokes gained off the tee, and lastly, on this bent grass, strokes gained putting, right? Everything this week, my model is heavily based on around the greens. I think that's what you have to do here. You need to be able to get up and down on these challenging par 4s. If you miss the green, you need to be able to save par, or better, have a couple chip-ins, get lucky. Anyways, that's enough about the course. We're going to go right into picking the winner, the overall winner, and then I'm going to give you guys a couple people in each section, that being the high salaried players in the 10,000 range, the middle and upper range players with higher salaries in the 9,000 range, and then we're going to talk about the lower to mid-level players, that being the 8s and maybe dip in a little bit of the 7s, and then the long shots. I'm going to pick one long shot. Listen, share with us who you think is going to win. Before you go any further, let us know who you think is going to win. Go to the comments section if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, let us know. And of course, if you're going to post it on your own page, use hashtag WeekendGolfGuy or @WeekendGolfGuy. Thanks for watching. Let's get right into it. The one person I think that's going to win this entire event, the first event of the 2020 PGA season, is the first Australian to also win Rookie of the Year. Who is that? Jason Day? No, it's Mark Leishman. All right, Mark Leishman's gonna win, and here's why. Because his ability to get up and down around the greens and score, even when he's not in the fairway, is going to set him apart this week, especially with the predicted weather that we're gonna have. Over the past 5 events, he's picked up 1.3 strokes. Putting, he has picked up 0.2 around the green and 0.9 on approach. He's also lost strokes off the tee, which I did say I think is going to be a major factor. However, his ability to get up and down to still score, even if he misses the fairway, is going to set him apart. Here's what I think he needs to do. I think he needs to hit 10 of 14 fairways this week on every day to win. That will set him apart from the field. I know the risk there is he's had back injuries. If we look back into last season, which was only a couple weeks ago, he did have back injuries that made him a little bit inconsistent. I think he'll be able to pull that all together, and we won't have to worry about that this week. If he can find those fairways, Mark Leishman is going to be your winner. Now let's talk about some of the other top tiered in the 10,000 plus range who I think will do well. All right, in the 11.1K range, which is the top player, to the 10K range, we're gonna give you 2 players who we think are going to do really, really well, and 2 that we're not gonna play. And here we go. So, I got 2 players that I'm going to play this week, potentially in a couple of my lineups, is Jason Kokrak. Over the past 5 tournaments, he has gained in every single category for strokes gained. Off the tee, tee to green, around the greens, approach, and putting. I mean, that's pretty awesome. The biggest change is a stroke gain putting and around the green between the past 10 tournaments and the past 5 tournaments. So maybe he found something there. Softer conditions, he may even pick up a few more strokes on the approach. I think that at 10.5K, that's his price for this week. I think he's a good person in that range. There's also Victor Hovland. A lot of you are on the Victor Hovland train. He's also gained in every single category with the exception of around the green. With the heavier grass from the predicted rains, I think that could be problematic. If I had to pick one of the 2, Jason Kokrak or Victor Hovland, I'd be playing Jason Kokrak. I think that his ownership projections are going to be lower. I don't think as many people are going to play him. I think that Victor Hovland's going to have a heavier following just because he's so likable. The media is all over him. Matt Wolff, these young guys up and coming. Victor Hovland is the next one who I think will win a tournament in that group. But I'm not going to play him this week out of those 2. I may mix him in there just so I don't completely leave him out of all of my lineups. However, if it's between Jason Kokrak and Victor Hovland, I would pick Jason Kokrak if you're only playing one lineup. If you have room to play a couple lineups, I know at $3 to $5 a pop, maybe you're only playing one this week, but I'm going to play a couple different lineups. I've got Jason Kokrak over Victor Hovland. Here's who I'm not playing. I'm not playing Bubba Watson, and I'm definitely not going to be playing Bryson DeChambeau. Here's why. Bubba's stats don't line up well at all, and I'm basing my model completely around stats. So Bubba Watson, he's out. I think he's in this price range because he knows the course. He's got a home in the Greenbrier. He's played well here before. I just don't see him playing well this week. I think he'll make the cut, but I think he'll make it on the number. That's my prediction. We'll see if it pays off. Bryson, he's way overpriced. I know that he has done well. However, statistically, he's not trending really that great. In the last 5 tournaments, he's struggled with his approach. I think that that's going to be a key factor here this week. Yeah, I can appreciate his love for tinkering with all of his equipment. Being an engineer, I think that's pretty awesome. But do I want to risk? He's at 11.1K. He's the highest ranked player in the field this week. Do I want to risk my entire salary and have to pick some of those lower level guys because I have Bryson? When you have a guy that's that expensive, he needs to win. I mean, he's got to really make some birdies. I don't think Bryson's going to win this week. Again, I think it's Mark Leishman who's going to take it. He's in that 10K range as well. So the 3 players I would pick out of those 5, Jason Kokrak, Victor Hovland, and of course Mark Leishman, who I think is going to win it. I'm not playing Bubba Watson, and I'm not playing Bryson DeChambeau. All right, let's move into the next kind of level down, which is the 9. All right, guys, so for the 9K to 8K range, I know we kind of said something a little different before. We're gonna go 9K to 8K. There's 19 players in this range. I'm not gonna go and cover every single one. That would take us too much time. I'm gonna give you my top 3, give you a little bit of information about them, and then, you know, there's a couple that didn't quite make the cut, at least from my mind. Share with me why you think my picks could be right or wrong. If you're picking somebody else, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. So, all right, so the 3 from this section, that 9 to 8K range, the best player statistically this week out of anyone is Sungjae Im. He was the only rookie to make it to East Lake. He's a Korean golfer. If you don't know much about him, wonderful player. And he didn't play his best at East Lake, but he did show some moments of brilliance, particularly with putting, where he gained 1.7 strokes over the field. I thought that was awesome. I think he plays well here this week. For 9.8K range, I'm probably going to have him in almost every single lineup I generate. I think that he's a tremendous value, probably the best value in the field this week. The next player I have on my list is Kevin Na. He's the past champion here, and he's struggled a bit here with putting, but I think you know, when a player plays well at a course, they have a formula to win there. You look at Tiger in playing at Augusta. You look at some of the players who just do well at certain courses. Kevin Na is going to play well this week here. Even if he struggled a little bit with putting, I think he can find it. A 2-week break, you never know what's going to come out. I mean, 2 weeks off, he's a very family-oriented guy. Might have been just enough to recharge his batteries, and he could come out here swinging. No pun intended. Okay, 90 at 9K, I got Joel Damon. He's a Washington native. If you don't remember him, he played 29 events last year. He had 8 top 25s. And though if you look statistically, he doesn't line up really great this week. I'm kind of breaking my own rule. I just have a feeling that he's going to play well. I like watching him play. I think he's going to do well. That's who I got in that range. So 9.8K, let's recap. Sungjae Im, 9.2, Kevin Na, and in the 9K range, I got Joel Damon. All right, let's move on down past the 8K. Let's get into the 7 to 6 range. I'm going to give you guys 3 players who I think is going to do well, who I think are going to do well this week. All right, let's jump into it. To 7K range. Who the fuck? Roto Grinders. Roto Grinders went live. That's good. Yeah, they're live. They're doing live lineups for the NFL. We don't talk about the NFL. Look, let's get into the 7.9 to 7K range here. I'm going to give you 3 players. There's a ton of players in this range. You could pick any one of them, anybody you feel is going to do well. Here's who I'm going to pick. I've got Sebastian Munoz. He's from Colombia. If you don't know much about him, he was struggling a little bit off the tee, but what he lacks off the tee recently over the past 5 tournaments, he definitely makes up in his strokes gained for approach and putting. He made the FedEx Cup's playoffs. So, you know, he's got things going for him, and he's 7.6K salary. So I think there's a lot of value in his ability to play here. He statistically lines up well for this course. I think he's going to do great. The biggest toss-up I had was between Cameron Tringale and Jimmy Walker. Here's why. Really, their 7.4K was Jimmy Walker and 7.3K was Cameron Tringale. I ultimately picked Cameron because, well, he's $100 cheaper, and $100 can separate you from the winner at the end of it. So I want to get those points, especially in DraftKings environment, right? If you have a little bit of money left over in your salary, that will put you ahead of people who score the same. If you didn't know that, now you know. But a lot of people, I think, jumped off the Cameron bandwagon, if you will, as he went through a little bit of slump this time last year. So 2018, in October, Cameron didn't play really great. He was kind of trending in the wrong direction. He seems to have turned that around. And I think his ownership is going to be a little lower than Jimmy Walker's. I think Jimmy Walker has a bigger name. People like Jimmy Walker. And so I think Cameron is going to just be a better pick. He's $100 cheaper. I think his ownership projections are going to be a little lower. That's just my guess. That could be wrong, but I'm hoping that he's a little lower because I'm definitely playing Cameron Tringale. Also, when you look over the past 10 rounds, he's gained strokes in every single category, whereas Jimmy Walker has not. So that's two of the players, Cameron and Jimmy. I picked Cameron. Also, we got Sebastian Munoz. And lastly, I got Brian Stewart. He sets up nicely for the course. He's kind of a hit or miss player. He's up and down. He seems to have found his stroke on the putting green at the Northern Trust, where he gained 5.3 strokes on the field. This is a risky pick. I'll probably filter him in a little bit, kind of play him in some of my lineups, leave him out, because I think he's probably my riskiest pick so far. All right, let's go for some long shots here, down in that 6K range. Let's take a look at a couple players who I think we're going to do well. All right, here we go. I got 3 players from the 6K range here. It's going to be, I'm starting off with Roberto Castro. He did well at the Wyndham Championship. He gained in 4 of 6 stroke gain categories, and he's had moments of brilliance. He's a Georgia Tech grad. He did well at the RBC Canadian Open. I'm wearing my Canada sweatshirt, so maybe I'm just channeling my inner maple syrup. I'm not sure, but he did well. Once that putter gets hot, he can be unstoppable. He can go really low. The second person in the 6K range I have, 6.8K, is Hank Lebioda. He gained in 3 of 6 stroke gains category over the past 5 tournaments. He's a Florida State player, and he had 3 top 25s in the 2019 season. He also played well at the RBC Canadian Open. I don't know if there's any correlation there, but there might be. We'll see. And the last player in this 6K range I have, kind of the long shots range, is Harris English. Now, Harris English and I have a tumultuous past. He has lost me many tournaments, at least in DraftKings. He's kind of screwed me. I'm giving him another shot here. We have a revitalized kinship. Is that the right word? I don't know what I'm looking for, but he's gained in 4 of 6 stroke gains categories over the past 10 tournaments. He played well at the Wyndham. He placed 39th, and also he does as good as the field or better on the par 3s over 200 yards. Now, I said that I wasn't going to weigh that very heavily, but when you get down in this 6K range, you're looking for anything you can to separate the rest of the 6K range players. Something that stood out to me for Harris English was that for par 3s over 200 yards, he does as well or better, even picks up strokes on the field. Also, in his par 4 efficiency, he is as good as the rest of the field or even a little better. Now, getting into par 5s, he does lose a few strokes for those longer par 5s, which I said could play heavily, so there's the risk right there. Listen, those are all of the 6K players that I want to talk about. There are many more, and I hope that you give me some of your feedback about who you think is going to do good, but that's who I have in my lineups. I hope it pays off. All right. Hey, thanks for watching this first video blog podcast fantasy golf predictions for the Greenbrier Classic, a military tribute. I'm Travis Patton. Listen, on Thursday, we're actually going to be playing a live golf round on our Facebook page using our True Golf Simulator. We're going to be playing the TPC Old White course using E6 Connect. I'll be taking questions if you want to comment, watch along if you're at work and you're trying to hide out. Listen, we'll play probably about 10 a.m., maybe 11, I don't know. I'll post a live event on our Facebook page. That's at WeekendGolfGuy. You can check us out if you're driving. Well, first of all, be safe, but listen, you can also listen to our podcast. You can find us anywhere podcasts are popular. That's Stitcher, TuneIn, Radio Public, SoundCloud, Apple, and the iTunes Store. You can find us on Android. Anywhere podcasts are popular, we're there. You can also check us out on WeekendGolfGuy.com. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Travis Patton. Hit 'em straight.